Farmers who wait for perfect weather never plant. If they watch every cloud, they never harvest. Some of you are waiting for the perfect timing to do what the Lord has called you to do. And I'm here to tell you that even if you feel unprepared, you need to take that risk. It's important to remember that there will never be a right time. And while yes, we shouldn't be impulsive in our decisions, we should always pray and meditate on the Word to make sure that what we are doing is aligned with His will. If you've prayed and received God's peace, and you still feel that your spirit is calling you to do something, this is your sign to take that leap of faith. Sometimes our callings involve taking risks. If we wait till we are fully prepared, sometimes because of our flesh, we will never start. There will always be some sort of doubt. There's this one quote from The Office that says, "There's always a million reasons not to do something." I find that when we have a sense of what our calling is, we tend to get into our own head. We tend to doubt our abilities, find a million excuses. Sometimes it's our flesh, and sometimes it's the enemy, especially if what you're doing is meant to spread the gospel in some way, meant to worship God and bring glory to His name. The enemy doesn't want you to do that, and he will do everything in his power to get you to stop, and one of the number one ways is to get you to doubt, or to get you to wait for the perfect timing, when in the Lord's word He says that there will never be perfect time. If He's calling you to do something, go out and do it. I've said this before, but I feel that the Lord really appreciates when we take a risk. I'm not saying go and be impulsive. I'm not saying do things without thinking or without praying on it. But when we have prayed on it and we feel like it's the right thing to do, yet we still feel doubt or discomfort, taking that risk anyway shows how much we trust Him. And I feel that that really means a lot to Him. And if you're doubting and you need a little bit more motivation, please use me as an example. Since I was very young, I've always loved being creative. And part of that creativity was making videos. And during this time, I'd say about 7 years, my number one fear was stepping in front of a camera and speaking. Speech and being on camera was a big no-no for me. While I still wanted to create content, I didn't want my face to be in it. I didn't want to speak in it. And of course, after being saved almost a year ago, the one thing that the Lord placed on my heart to do was to speak on camera. I was very much like Jonah. If you're not familiar with the story of Jonah, the Lord basically calls him to do something and he does everything in his power to not do it. And even though I'm here now, after it took me almost a year to step into my calling, there are times where I still doubt myself. There are times where I still don't feel qualified. If God is calling you to speak, if He's calling you to encourage, to volunteer, to step out in your faith, listen to Him. The Lord doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. I did not feel qualified to speak. There's this one part of Exodus that always makes me laugh because I relate to it so hard even now. It's when the Lord is calling Moses to speak, and Moses, having a stutter, argues with the Lord and is like, I can't speak. Why would you call me to do something that I can't do? I struggle with my words. I can't speak. And the Lord basically responds saying, number one, who gave you your mouth? Exactly. And two, He basically tells us that if He has called you to do something, not only will you succeed, but He will help you through it. I struggle with my words a lot. Most of my videos take an hour to film because I stutter and I get anxious and I doubt what I'm saying. I feel like this is so important to share because even when you step out on your calling, you're going to make mistakes. Again, you're not going to be perfect. Not only will the Lord use what you have, He will grow you and you will have the privilege of seeing Him work in your life. Whatever your fears are when it comes to stepping out into your calling, know that the Lord is bigger than that. Before I started posting, there was one verse that really stuck with me. I had actually put it in my Bible about 2 days before starting my first video. It's Psalm 18 verse 6, which reads, "The Lord is for me, so I will have no fear. What can mere people do to me?" If you're like me and you're worried about being seen, about being judged, or or simply doubting yourself, remember that when we are weak, He is strong. Whatever He has called you to do, He will be with you. I'm not saying you won't face any challenges or that you won't have any opposition, but you will make it through. This verse gave me the courage to finally step out. And although it's been terrifying and challenging, and I'm still learning a lot, with His grace and to His glory, this channel is almost at 1,000 subscribers, and I could not be more grateful. I felt like the least qualified person. I still struggle with that. Please let my leap of faith encourage you. Trust in God's promises. Even if you don't feel qualified, do it anyway. He places talents and dreams and goals into our hearts for a reason. And remember, even if you don't know what your calling is, our number one purpose is to love others and spread the gospel. So even if right now you're not too certain about what He's asking you to do, know that He has called us to do those two things, and it should always be our number one priority. Continue to seek Him. Ask Him to remove any motivation in your heart that's not from Him, and pray that He restores any dreams that align with His will. When I started my walk with Him, I had to give up content creation. Although I was really sad about it, He placed it back into my heart. Sometimes we will have to give up what we are currently doing to follow Him. And although it is difficult, please remember that He wants us to be happy, and He will restore that dream when the time is right. Take that step of faith and trust in Him. Remember that you have the victory. If He is calling you to do something, you will succeed. Because if He is for you, who can be against you?